Hi, everybody, and welcome to our July Astro Clearing Circle. We have a wandering astrologer with us today. Velen Ridgway is on her way to teach a class this evening. So we are going to be enjoying her wisdom from her vehicle, but she has access to all the information, all the slides that she created. So we're excited for that. I'm Sasha. Welcome, of course, to all of you who are here on recording. I know there are a number of you that are joining us from recording. And we wanted to share with you a little bit about what we do, what Astro Clearing Circles are. We made the switch from new moon circles at the beginning of this calendar year, but we wanted to talk about Astro Clearing just for a moment. And that is that we love to use the astrology of the moment or your personal astrological chart, your birth chart, if we're doing a personal session. Or for a group chart, it would be a project, the chart for the project or the chart for the business. So there's lots of different options there, but the astrology is really the underlying energy for this work. And then the energy clearing and rebalancing comes from that. So the astrology really orients us. We use it as a navigation tool to be able to understand what's happening for you right now, what your response is to what's happening right now, and also to look forward in terms of what you want to be doing, how you want to be setting intention for yourself, how you want to be showing up for yourself. So I just wanted to share that with you and just talk a little bit about how it is that we work with individuals, pinpointing patterns to ultimately to clear those blocks, and then to map out the next best steps for you. We can do that around your work stuff, around your relationship stuff, around money stuff, around your creative, maybe some creative ideas, creative work that you're doing. So lots of different options. I think all of you who are here with us this evening are well familiar with that. But those of you in the recording thought we might share that with you. So now we're going to have Velen read the channeled message.
I'm going to stop you for a second. Probably this is a good time to get everyone's permission to do the clearing.
Sure, we could do that. We could do that now. Sure, let's do that now. I was going to do it after Zora and before you start the astrology, so that people could just sit in the energy of Zora, but let's just do it now.
Okay.
So I'm going to be tonight. Sometimes I use a magnet, and everybody can follow along tonight. We're going to be doing some tapping later on, but everybody can follow along tonight if you like by just rubbing your hands together and then clearing your energy from the top of the head. Okay, so when we're doing energy rebalancing or clearing, you can do it that way. If you have access to a magnet, I know some of you are energy practitioners and you like to use magnets. If you prefer to use a magnet, please do. I'm actually going to be using a crystal today. I've been using my crystals a lot more often. I think that's part of the energy that's coming up for us right now. And so I'm going to be using a crystal today to do the clearing and the rebalancing and the reconnecting. We're going to be doing some energetic reconnecting today. I am going to encourage the participants who are live online this evening to share in the chat. I'm not going to call out any names. I might say the words that you've shared, but I won't be saying any names. And so don't worry about and that won't be shared, obviously, or seen by anyone on the recording. So don't worry about sharing. But if you don't feel like sharing, that's okay too. So what I need is for everybody who wants to participate in the energetic clearing and rebalancing portion of this evening to just put a yes into the chat for me. Okay. If you don't want to, that's absolutely okay. You can go ahead and put a no, or you can just not put a yes into the chat. Sometimes what we do is we do it the opposite way around and we say, if you're okay with participating, then we're just going to presume that you are. And if you don't want to, just put a no in the chat. But I will check that in a few minutes before we get started, and then I'll know whether or not you want to be part of the energetic part of this evening. I'm going to make a presumption that if you're here, you want to be. So welcome to all of you who are here live online, and I'm going to pass it over to Velen.
Awesome. So here is the message that was that I channeled yesterday, I guess, I don't know, recently, which will be fresh for me because I never actually remember what came through. So this is from the Soul Collective that I channel. Greetings. For all of you who have chosen to come together to embrace the energies that are offered to you at this time, there is much to be in gratitude for, and there is much to look forward to. Having said that, there is also much that cannot be seen regarding where you are heading at this time. It is a time to turn in and reflect on what aligns to your own vision, in compassion and in love for yourself. For in surrendering to that part of you, you manifest what allows you to be in the fulfillment of your soul's path. Remember that as you quieten your mind and busyness, intentionally connecting to the whisper within, you will know the messages that are real for you and that flow through spirit, calling you back to your true essence. This is what is required at this time. As cycles are ending and beginning, know that it is the guidance from within that is the only true source of knowing that aligns to who you are and to what you have chosen to learn in this lifetime. Trust the unfolding, trust your inner knowing, and walk your path with integrity.
Okay, so let's just sit with that energy for a moment. Just a reminder that in your ASTRO-CLEARING Circle library, you will find the slides for every circle. And so that includes the recording for this evening, as well as these slides. And so if you ever want to go back and just review the message that's been offered or any of the astrological information that Belen is about to share, you can do so.
So there's a lot going on, as everyone probably realizes just with life. So what I've done is I've just pulled together some of the key pieces that are part of the energies of July. So if you're an astrologer, you know there's lots of other things. So I've just kind of honed in on what felt right for me to talk about for all of us. So wherever that came from. So it's a time for us of reflecting and releasing. And why I am saying that is because both Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces and they have just turned retrograde. And whenever a planet turns retrograde in the sky, the energy turns us in. And it allows us to reflect and to revise and to, I just heard someone say rewire and to reconnect. And there's this place of feeling for ourselves where we've been, where we want to go. There's this reflective time. And because we're at the end of a cycle, this is the perfect time as we're reflecting to come to a place of knowing what we do not want to carry into the next cycle. We're at that point where when we do our deep inner connection and review, there are things that we can let go of. There's things that we can release. So that's an overall energy. Now, Chiron is also going retrograde this month, and all of these planets are going to stay retrograde, but they've just gone retrograde now. So there's a part of a shifting of energies for us that we can take advantage of, we can capitalize on. So part of this, because Neptune and Pisces are of the spirit, of the vision, of the dreams, of the connection to spirit, connection to creativity. So there's a piece here for us to surrender to our spiritual connection, to just be able to quiet ourselves and sit in that. And that's not always easy when we're in busy lives. It's hard. This is also a time as we turn in, as we follow our own inner guidance, that it's a time to step into the trust and also recognize what we've learned. And we've had Neptune, very spiritual planet, in Pisces, very spiritual, for 14 years. So there's a time to reflect on what have we learned in terms of our connection to spirit. I've written down here spiritual mastery. What have we gained through our connection to our own spiritual guidance, our own inner wisdom? What does that look like? And how have we learned to trust that over the last 14 years? So there's places here where as we look at that, there may be pieces there that we may think, well, there's an old story around this that I can now let go of. When I can really come to some owning part of Saturn, owning, being responsible for, owning our own authority around what spirit says to us, and where there are old patterns and stories that we really don't want to carry forward. And we can trust the guidance of that now. Saturn also is the container, creates limits and boundaries. So there's a piece of this that as we go through this month, and as we connect to what we need spiritually or creatively, or what we need as we connect to source in whatever way that that happens for each of us, what limits do we need to honor so that we can connect to our own inner knowing? Is that might be time, that might be relationships, that may be commitments. There's all sorts of ways that we may need to honor what the limits are for us so that we can deeply connect, and so we can have our quiet, and we can have our pause, and we can have our reflection. And Saturn also takes time, and Neptune is around compassion. And so this time is also a time of recognizing that things take patience, and have patience with yourself and connect to self-love. So this time is to turn that inward. The retrograde planets, turn them inward. And I've just put a little bit on the bottom of the slide here, because next year, both Saturn and Neptune meet in Aries, and this is the beginning of a new cycle. It's the beginning of the zodiac. They're coming together at 0 degrees of Aries, which is unusual. It's going to be the time where what we have dreamed, Neptune, what we have been sensitive to, what we are envisioning for ourselves, steps into Aries. Aries says, go. What are we going to, and Saturn says, how are we going to make it real? These things are going to be part of our journey. And it's almost as if right now we've got a year where we can really look in and start to feel, where do we want to go? What do we want to start? What are our dreams? What actually are illusions that we want to let go of so that we can activate our dreams? So all of this is beginning this month because Saturn and Neptune have turned retrograde. So that's all turning us in and asking us for that quietness and that connection to our inner guidance.
Great. So I just wanted to ask everybody to take a moment and consider what is coming up for you, specifically around an old story that you have about your spiritual connection, your connection to divine guidance, or your ability to hear it or engage with that guidance. So what is an old story that still might be present for you, that you think to yourself, oh, that used to be true, but it's not true anymore? Just make a note for yourself, and if you want, just one word or one phrase, just add it in the chat for us. And I'm going to check in and see if there's any rebalancing that needs to be done around that old story, or any clearing that needs to be done around that old story.
So while you're doing that, so we'll move on, working with similar theme, because what's happening right now is about the pause before the new. We're at the end of a sign, and that's Neptune at the end of a sign. Pluto's about to be at the end of a sign as well. The full moon that's happening on the 21st, the 20th is happening at the 29th degree. That's the end of a sign and shifting into something new. So when we're at the end, there can be more weight or more importance, the feeling of needing to finish something up. There's something that needs to be finished up. And refining what we've learned, recognizing that a cycle's ending and about to begin a new one. So there's something here that over the course of this month, particularly with all these things at 29 degrees, but even the following months, about honoring what it means to be in a liminal space. And there's a place of that, of trusting the universe, trusting yourself, trusting your inner guidance, trusting that you are going to, you will know what the steps are when the new cycle begins. You will know your own guidance that brings you forward. And so part of why this is so important is the planets that are at 29 degrees are transformational planets. They're big outer planets. So this is global. We're seeing it play out in certain ways. But when we internalize this, this is our own healing. It's our own connection to source. It's our own personal transformational deep work is being called for right now. And why that's so important is because we're stepping into our future. And this is a place where we can do this. The last of the clearing out, releasing, this is the time to do it. So it's a perfect time to examine where we need to show up for ourselves and where recognizing that we are creating our own future. And of course we are doing that every step of every day, but there's something about the energies of this time, which is, yes, we're stepping into the future, but we're not quite there. So it's really honoring, looking at what we want to create for ourselves. It's so important at this point. And in that, when we do that, we create it for the rest of the world. So there's a connection here that takes us outside, but we're turning in and we're working from the inner perspective. So there is a beautiful energy that's happening right at this moment with these two outer planets, Neptune and Pluto, in a supportive relationship right now. So spirit and compassion and creativity support our deep healing. So any way we connect to source, once again, it can be listening to music, it can be in nature, it doesn't really matter. But to recognize that we have an opportunity right now to go deep within, and the universe, the cosmos, the stars are supporting us to do that. And at the same time, it allows us to honor what we've learned, how we've grown, to step into our own inner authority, the spiritual mastery, and allow that to ground you. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of stuff going on in Taurus, which is very grounding. So there's a place here to really own what we know to be true for ourselves and allow that to be a guide. And as we allow ourselves to feel the future, even though we may have inklings and we may have dreams and we may have a vision for ourselves, but it might not be fully formed yet. And just to know that this does require deep trust on many levels and in many different parts of life. There's a place, but we are being supported now to allow our dreams to be part of our personal transformation. All of this is happening at this moment and will continue over the course of the next few months. But it is with the full moon at that same place in July. There's something that's accentuating it. It's bringing it to our awareness. It's like, okay, this is the time to reflect and to let go and to recognize that we are being offered this energetic opportunity to create something for ourselves and let go of something that we don't want to carry forward.
So this is beautiful because what you've just talked about, Belen, is completely in line with what pretty much everybody is experiencing in their own way. So everyone has their own version of this similar piece of lack of confidence in our own inner authority. So that's not surprising because we've grown up in a world for many, many centuries where we've looked to the external authority. We've looked to the white coat. We've looked to the priest. We've looked to the coach. We've looked to the teacher. We've looked to the guru, the mentor. And we have not been trained generally to look within. And so there are some here who do that, but you've done that by pushing against the grain, not because you were trained by external forces or in any type of environment where tools were made available to us easily. And so I think what we're coming around to is this idea that in order to respect and honor and trust our inner authority, we've kind of been pushed off the edge of the cliff a little bit. It's a little bit like being thrown into the deep end when you're learning to swim. And the idea is to figure it out as you go, right? You've been given some tools, given some hints, and now the job is to experience it. And so I feel like that's the place that we're in right now. And as you said, there's a lot of support, and we're in it. We're in the deep end now. Would that be kind of
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that's a great way of putting it. And of course, I'm thinking Neptune in the water and Pluto the depth, and even Sedna that's in the mix here as well. You know, literally, we're in the deep end. And here's the piece: is when you are in the deep end and you trust that you can float, there's no problem. It's when you step into the struggle and the fear, you know, for anyone who is, you know, remembers learning to swim, that's where there's a problem. So it's that trust that we are being held by the universe, by the cosmos, by however we want to call it, to allow ourselves to connect to the deeper parts of ourselves and know that that's the piece that is, it is our personal transformation. That's what is being asked of everyone at this time on the planet in some form, even if it's in a seems like an insignificant small way, but it's actually powerful. So that's, yeah, I love that analogy. That's perfect.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to just pick up on some of the emotions that might be missing for us in order to be willing to go into that deep place of trust, that deep place of connection within, and to trust that inner authority. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm just going to move on with Valen's slides and do some work in the background here.
Awesome. Okay. So there's a really interesting dynamic two planets coming together in the middle of the month. We're already in it and it will continue after, but it peaks their exact on July 15th. And there are two planets. There's Mars, courage, independence, initiating, energetic, drive, passion. Uranus, unexpected, breakthrough, authenticity, being innovative, being rebellious. So what it made me think of is being fearlessly true to ourselves. Because Uranus says you need to be authentic. You need to be who you are. You need to show up in your eccentricities and in whatever way you need to. That's what Uranus wants. And Mars is about courage. So externally, it may be, when these two planets come together, it can be, explosive isn't quite the right word, but there can be lots of unexpected disruptions. That may be happening externally towards the middle of July. And to recognize that's fine. That's what's happening externally. It's the internal piece that is, once again, as we turn in, to recognize where do we need to step into courage to be true to ourselves? Where do we need to put energy into that? Where do we need to understand what it means to show up in our authentic self, even if it's uncomfortable in some way? So there's something going on at this time that, and I'm going to say, especially if there's disruptive things going on in the world, that's the reminder, okay, what is this energy meant to be on a personal level? And that's it. It's calling us to say, take a deep breath. This is what I need to do. Bring my passion, bring my fire, bring my spirit to being as true to myself as I can possibly be in this moment. That's the place. And I'm giving the external because there's quite possibly things may happen. And that'll be your reminder to turn in. So Uranus often creates breakthroughs, new awarenesses, new awakenings, understandings. It's the lightning bolt. We've talked about it in other circles. It's a lightning bolt of awareness. And it happens to break down old patterns, old stories that we've outgrown so that we can have our own breakthroughs. It's like pulling the rug out from under you. You find up, you're lying on the floor and you're looking up and it's like, oh, I've never seen myself from that perspective. So there's an opportunity here that over the course of this month, once again, we can think about what we want to let go of, what old patterns are holding us back, and where we can step into our own personal breakthroughs. And part of the way to work with this energy, you know, it really depends where it hits in your chart, but in general, change up routines. Think about, is that aligned to who I really am now? And connect to a sense of freedom. That's all the Uranus energy, and Mars is activating it. So to be active around something that you want to do that aligns to who you are now, and that may take some courage, or it may just take a lot of energy, or it may take inspiration. So those are all the words that come up. But it's a great time to recognize where you may be, you know, stuck in a rut that is maybe not, may feel safe, but maybe isn't actually promoting, allowing you to make these big changes that are required right now. We're in a time of big change for everyone. So because these two planets are in Uranus, Uranus is about our value, it's about our self-worth. It is about money value, so there may be ups and downs around money stuff, but what it's saying is, how do we stand in our authenticity based on what's important to us, based on our own self-worth? This is what the energy is. So it's, you know, I feel like it's a great time to take advantage of this, because this is, once again, an unusual coming together of these planets, and it's in a perfect place because it's in Taurus. It's around. It's in some ways it almost slows it down, and it allows us to connect to what's important to us and how important we are. And I've just put the little stay grounded. Watch for, especially around the middle of the month, watch for impulsiveness, reactivity, impatience, aggressions. Stay grounded. Put your feet on the ground. Take a deep breath. It depends on what else is going on in your chart, whether you would be activated, but it may be a very dynamic, fast-moving, lots of unexpected things happening. That's quite possible. And so, once again, remember, if that's happening, we go to the internal. Where are we being true to ourselves? And remind ourselves to stay grounded. That's just part of this month's energy.
Well, that one of the pieces that always comes through for me with Uranus energy is this breakthrough energy, which suggests revisiting or re-examining what I believed about myself before, or about my relationship, or about the way that I am in the world. And so I put that out there with this Mars-Uranus conjunction coming up, because I feel like there's an opportunity here with the energy that we were just talking about, with this working on trusting the inner authority.
Yeah.
How is this Uranus perspective shifting your view, my view, our view, on our inner authority? In other words, oh, for a long time, I thought that it was this. And suddenly I realize, oh, actually, it's this. Now, the new this might be a small, tiny refinement, right? Especially around the full moon, it might be a refinement of what you already had grasped. But I love the idea that even for those of us, because there are a number of people here that I know have been doing energy work for decades, your whole lives, right? Two of you in particular that I know for sure. And I think the idea here is to say, I can still be surprised. I can still surprise myself.
Yeah, I was just going to add in, because I didn't highlight this, but Uranus is always expect the unexpected. So out of left field, something it takes you aback, because you just, and the beauty of Uranus and the excitement of Uranus is that you cannot predict what's going to happen. So even as we're talking about it, and you think, okay, I'm going to be aware that things might be disruptive and this might happen, you can't know. That's Uranus. That's the gift of Uranus. You literally can't know. So all of the things that you were just talking about is to recognize that that level of new awarenesses may come in a way that you absolutely will not be able to predict. So to be open to it when it hits, because it's such an opportunity, even if it's surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love it. It's, and even, you know, I have someone in my life who has said her whole life, or my whole life that I've known her, I hate surprises. And that comment, Helly will know who I'm talking about. And that comment is about her inability to let go of control. So let's remind ourselves that really embracing this Uranus Mars story, you know, we Mars people like to be in the lead and we like to be in control. And so letting that go and allowing oneself to be surprised, to receive something out of left field, to to not push it away, to not resist it, to not try to wrestle it down to the ground and make sense of it immediately, right? All of these old stories of reaction, but rather to be open to it instead. So I
So,
just, before we start here, I just wanted to let everybody know, if you haven't seen it in the chat, that I've been reconnecting you to happiness, reconnecting you to comfort,
nice.
connecting you to courage. Now I should say us, because it's all of us involved. I can't for you without doing it for myself, which is part of the beauty of this work. So happiness and comfort, I thought, were really interesting ones, because we have been experiencing a fair bit of discomfort, and liminal space transition is by nature uncomfortable. There are prickly moments, there's edginess, there's potential frustration, annoyance, irritation.
And can I just point out something? We're
Yes.
coming up to the Cancer new moon.
Yes.
Cancer is comfort.
That's what I was going to say.
Beautiful.
So
Yeah.
it makes sense now that we're in Cancer season, that it's like, you know, my Cancer moon daughter said to me, when do we get our month of chill out? Like, when do we get like the nice time? I said, well, it's kind of now. Like, now's the time to feel supported, but it's all about you supporting yourself. It was a little bit grumpy about that.
Love that.
So here we are, big shifts.
Okay. So I was just kind of I was thinking about this month and the astrology that, those pieces of the astrology I just shared, and sort of the ongoing place that we're in, I know I keep saying this, over the next couple of years. We're in the middle of big shifts. I mean, I think everyone knows that. Everyone's, feeling it in different ways. Big shifts are happening. However, a lot of that is just taking small steps. It goes back to the inner authority, the inner guidance. What is the next small step that I'm taking personally that actually is contributing to this transformational time we're living on this planet? I think it's so important, because we can get lost in deep healing, big transformation, et cetera, et cetera. But we're human, we're living our lives. We have to go and do our groceries. So it comes down to the small things through all of this and over the next couple of years, to honor each of our small steps, because each of them are contributing to the transformation that is literally occurring on this planet in the most profound and beautiful way, but, not always comfortable. So I just wrote some points kind of, off the top of my head, and you'll all have probably many, many more. And they sort of, they're reflecting back to the astrology that I've talked to, but staying grounded in day-to-day life by owning your own truth. Like, how important it is when life seems a little crazy out there, and, certainly all our US, circled members, there's a lot going on. And what can we do? Well, we just stay grounded in who we are. And recognizing the boundaries of the limits that support our inner knowing. So once again, what is that? Is that, in the morning I need some time, or do I block off, a time to do something that's creative and fills me up? Whatever that is, or is it people that I, can't have in my life, or have to kind of limit the exposure? Whatever it is, it's a time to really set that in place. Know that for yourself. What is supporting you to connect to that inner knowing? And the other piece, which sort of goes back to the first one in the small steps, is to recognize that we can practice trust every day in small ways. And certainly, certainly for circle members, it's like, what was that little inner guidance? What was that little niggle that came up? Starting to listen, starting to trust, starting to align to it. And it doesn't, once again, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it's the ongoing, it's the practice, is practicing being true to who we are in whatever way that is. And the other piece, because there's a lot of Taurus energy, and I think this is so important, is to understand what you value. What's important to you? What are you following? What makes sense in your life? And then acknowledging your own worth. And I know that's an issue. It's an issue for me. It's an issue for a lot of people to really know that and live from that place. Live from what's important to you and to recognize your own value for yourself. So all of these pieces are happening, and they can be done in incremental small ways. It's part of the daily practice now of this, walking through this transformational time. And in general, the transformation is from the inside out. So when we can embrace our stillness and connect to our heart, we can step into our own healing that allows us to move through these big shifts with grace and with awareness and with consciousness, and allow that to flow in a way that supports us to do what we need to do for ourselves.
Beautiful. Thanks, Velen. We're going to move right into the journey. I'm going to make the journey quite brief, and I have 3 questions for everybody for you to really sit with as you're in this space of journeying into a deeper place within you, and really to connect with that Cancerian flow, that fluidity that we're in right now, which is the visual that came to me really strongly is a river or a creek that's winding between 2 tall rock faces, and those 2, like in a canyon. And those 2 tall rock faces are represented by the 2 Capricorn full moons that are bookending this Cancerian new moon. So finding your flow, even within this time of potentially feeling a little stuck or feeling as though you have literally hit a stone wall, because they're out there. The stone walls are there for you. And so it's very much circling back to what Velen has talked about, which is this self-trust. I have reconnected you, everybody, all of us, to this energy of delight around knowing our own worth. And I think when we talk about knowing our own worth, it can be so heavy. And so the energy of delight has been introduced this evening. So just feel into that and see how that feels for you. So let's get comfortable. And just take a moment to place one hand on your heart, and it's your heart energy center. So for us in the female gendered body, we're going to be up near the clavicle for the heart energy center. And just give yourself a little rub. Just be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to bring a little self-love, a little self-care. You might want to hug yourself. If you have some energy exercises, some Eden energy exercises that you like to do, maybe you do them in the morning, maybe you do them before bed, maybe you do them at nap time in the afternoon. Whatever it is for you, you might want to do some of that. Let's just take a moment. Maybe close the eyes, settle back into your chair or your couch or onto the floor, on your yoga mat, or just on your carpet. Honestly, the floor is my friend. Sometimes I just throw myself down there, and it's just a beautiful place to be. You just feel your connection to the ground. Maybe wiggle your toes, lift your legs from side to side, wiggle your tail, allow your tailbone to drop down, and really root down. Remember that you are a carbon-based life form. You are made of earth stuff and star stuff. You are actually a part of this universe, not apart from it. Feel how much you belong to this planet, to this moon, to this solar system, to this galaxy, to these stars, to this sunlight. It is in you, it comes from you, and it flows through you. And flow here is the key. We are finding our rate of flow this evening. So just check in. There might be a big difference between what you want your rate of flow to be and what it actually is. So check in. Are you deep or in shallow water right now? Is it a pond? Is it a small quantity of water that's contained with boundaries? Are you a river? And don't kid yourself, even if you're a pond, even if you're a puddle, there's still a rate of flow there. Molecules are moving. Little surface bugs are dancing. The wind is rippling across your surface. So there's still flow, even in the still water. Are you a creek, a stream? Are you a river or a waterfall? Are there places along your shore that are maybe leaking, moving off into other regions? And is that desirable for you? Are you seeking new places to land? Or are you frustrated by the fact that your boundaries have been breached and you need to shore up your shore? Check in with yourself. Are you a sea, an ocean? Are you salty water? You're feeling kind of salty these days. You have a little bit of an inner roar that's wanting to come out. Are your waves lapping up on the shore, but really what you want is to bring a big, huge tidal wave and just smash that shore to bits? What's happening for you right now? Are you feeling utterly peaceful as you amble along with the energy of a stream? So just feel into what is your truth right here, right now, in this moment. It may not have been true this morning, and it might not be true tomorrow or next week. But in this moment, what is the water image that really feels true for you, that you can feel within your body, or that you feel yourself floating in, or moving in, or lying in, or submerged in? We spoke earlier about being thrown into the deep end of things. You can feel like you're in the deep end, even if you're in shallow water. It just may be a lot for you right now. So just feel into that and what's happening for you. And in this place that you find yourself in, this place of liquidy goodness, or maybe some challenge in terms of your flow, here are 3 scenarios for you to consider. And I'm going to offer you either ors. If neither one feels right or true for you, that's okay. You can just let it go. So here are the 3 offerings for you to consider. We are all opening to becoming more clear-hearted, more clear-hearted. There are 2 pieces that are coming up for us right now in this month that offer us the opportunity to become more clear-hearted by releasing something that feels heavy, or resolving an old issue. So there may be an old story that is plaguing you or just hanging on by its fingernails. Or there might be something in your life that feels dense and just doesn't fit. The frequency doesn't fit with whom you are becoming. Neither of these things are bad or wrong. But whatever it is that feels heavy or whatever old piece that's hanging on, just contemplate which is which for you. Make a note for yourself. I'm going to ask you to share in the chat later, but just for the moment, you make a note for yourself because our intention here is to embrace lightness with ease. For the second one, we're trusting the timing. We're trusting our own divine timing to know if we're in the chrysalis stage of transformation or ready to take inspired action. If you're still in the chrysalis stage and you want to be taking inspired action, honor the fact that you're still in the chrysalis stage. So the key here is to seek out a little more patience. We'll talk about that in a moment. If you feel ready to take action, then that's where you're at. You're ready to take action. And the third scenario is this: we're learning to listen differently. We're learning to listen differently. We're learning to listen differently by attending to the underlying energy of the person or situation rather than believing the dramatic story at the surface. So just consider what support you are calling in for yourself to listen differently by attending to the underlying energy. And think about a time, maybe not too recently, but in the fairly recent past, where you even momentarily believed the dramatic story at the surface and might have been kind of caught up in it and then kind of brought yourself back around. It's like, no, I'm feeling the underlying energy of this person or situation, and I'm not going to get caught up in the drama. So just ask yourself, just kind of go back to when that may have happened and ask yourself, what was it that helped me kind of come back to myself or really go deeper to the energetic flow of whatever a person was telling you or whatever the situation was, maybe at work or with a loved one. Really getting to that, the truth of the energy rather than getting caught up in the drama story. Now, a little hint is that if you're in this opening to become clear-hearted by releasing what feels heavy or resolving an old issue, that might have to do with how you're listening. So the listening differently piece may be a clue or a support or a help to how you can release what feels heavy or resolve that old issue. Okay. So just sitting with that for a moment, and let's go back to that clear-hearted piece. And if you are releasing what feels heavy, just put the word release in the chat. But if you're resolving an old issue, just put resolve in the chat. Okay. And again, just reminding you that none of what you share is shared with anybody else, and nobody can see. If you, I should say, if you want to share in the chat just to me, you can go ahead and do that. The next piece is to take a look at trusting your own divine timing. Are you in the chrysalis stage or are you ready to take action? So chrysalis is a hard word to spell, but if you want to attempt it, go ahead. Otherwise, you can just say quiet or action. You're in that quiet time right now, still kind of figuring it out, sorting it out, or you're ready to take inspired action. So are you quiet or are you in action? Those are the two questions for you. So just sitting with that energy, and I'm going to open it up to see where we're at. Okay, so we've got 3 resolve and 3 release. Beautiful. And we've got some folks in quiet. Yes, absolutely. I'm with you. Whoever is feeling in the chrysalis and impatient. It's wanting to take action. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right. So we're going to focus on the resolving first. So, or sorry, the releasing first. So those of you that are ready to release what feels heavy, we're going to check into what is going to support you for that. So I've just checked in to see, make sure that we're in the right place, and we are. So 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 5 to 6. Okay, so for releasing what feels heavy, we're going to reconnect to gratitude. So we're going to take our non-dominant hand, whatever that is for you. That's the hand you don't write with. You're going to place it on your heart energy center where you had it before. And if I can just, we're going to tap in the space that is between the pinky finger and the ring finger on that hand. So that is your triple warmer. So you've got your hand at your heart and you're tapping on your triple warmer, and you're going to say out loud to yourself, I am grateful. I am grateful. Now, even if it feels completely not true and you're not feeling grateful, you're actually feeling impatient and irritated, that's okay. In order to release, let go of what's feeling heavy, we're going to just reach for gratitude. And we're going to reach for gratitude by simply stating, I am grateful. I am grateful. Okay. Just keep doing that for a moment. And we're going to move into the resolving the old issue piece. Okay, so for resolving the old issue, we're going to keep that hand where it is. We're going to keep on tapping the triple warmer, and we're going to say, I am secure. I am secure. And then we're going to say, I am supported. I am supported. And you can put them together if you want. I am supported and secure. I am supported and secure. And we're just going to remind everybody, especially for those of you perhaps on the recording or who came in to circle a little bit later, I'm just going to remind you that we do have some really supportive energies at work with the planetary alignments over the next several weeks. So just hooking into that. I am supported and secure. Okay, beautiful. So that was meant to support us in embracing lightness with ease. So I'm just checking into everybody in circle now if you're holding for embracing lightness with ease in the heart. And you are. You are. Okay. So for those of you in your quiet stage, I'm just going to check if there's anything that we really need to connect into. So there's a positive emotion to connect into. So we're going to all rebalance and reconnect to that positive emotion that's going to support us to be in that quiet time with some patience and just allowing what it is that we need. So it's calmness. You need to find a sense of inner calmness. So you can rub your hands together and just run them over the top of your head, reconnecting to the energy of calmness. And as we do that, I'm going to use my crystal, reconnecting, fully reconnecting to the energy of calmness, fully connecting to the roots and origins of calmness in this lifetime and throughout all lifetimes, lineages, ancestries, and incarnations, reconnecting to calmness across all time and space, across all dimension, throughout all worlds, and reconnecting to calmness in our heart, our mind, our body, and our spirit. Reconnecting to calmness. Okay, everybody's holding nicely for calmness. So for those of you that are ready to take inspired action, we're going to go back to that energy of courage. Just going to check in and see. We're going to rebalance one more time for that energy of courage, reconnecting to courage. And earlier, when we were talking about knowing our own worth, we were connecting to the energy of delight. And I reconnected everybody to the full spectrum of delight, which I thought was kind of fun, just came. But we're also going to reconnect to the full spectrum of courage, because bravery comes in so many different forms, doesn't it? There's that personal bravery. There's that bravery that we can have towards somebody that we're helping, somebody who needs our help, whether it be a loved one or an animal or a beloved human or a tree, you know, or a landform of some kind, or a body of water. Going back to our water analogy. So just reconnecting to the full spectrum of courage. Courage to be in that space of inspired action. Courage to be in that space of inspired action. So welcome those of you who have just arrived. We're just wrapping up, and we encourage you to check in with the recording when we're complete. So we've dealt with the pieces around becoming more clear-hearted by releasing what feels heavy and resolving old issues. We have found that reconnection, that rebalance for those of us in that quiet or chrysalis stage, and those of us ready to take inspired action. And you may be in that liminal space, that transition between the two. It's kind of how I'm feeling right now. And so by all means, you know, receive all of that, the calmness as well as the courage. And finally, whatever's coming up for you that feels like it's something you are looking to or have looked to recently, to listen differently by attending to the underlying energy of the situation rather than believing that dramatic story. Maybe it was just taking a step back. Maybe it was pausing. Maybe it was exhaling deeply. Maybe it was counting backwards from 10. Maybe it was just physically removing yourself from the situation. Maybe it was connecting with compassion in your own heart and thinking, gee, I know you're behaving badly right now, other person, but I kind of get where you're coming from. It's hard for me to listen to the shouting, or it's hard for me to watch this behavior, but I get that you're in a challenged place. And so what is it for you that helped you? That is a touchstone for you. And I'm just checking in. There is a triple warmer tap that we're going to be doing for this. I'm just checking into what that is. Okay, so it is, I am open, but it's also whatever came up for you. So I'm actually getting I am other. So I have open here, but it might be I'm okay. It might be I'm connected. I'm present. I'm here for you. I'm love. I'm good. I'm lovable. I'm at ease. I'm strong. I belong. So whatever it is for you. So I'm going to use I am open, but there may be a different word that you want to use right now. So just put your non-dominant hand at your heart center, and you're going to be tapping in that place that is between the pinky finger and the ring finger on your hand. So you're actually tapping on your hand at that between the two metacarpals, between the index finger or the ring finger and pinky finger. kind of a soft bit there. So you're tapping your triple warmer and you're making your statement. I'm going to say, I am open. I am open. If open is relevant for you, then use that. If something else is relevant for you, like I am deserving, I am worthy, I am empowered, use that. Whatever it is that works really well for you to just kind of shift you from that place of believing the drama, even if it's just for a few seconds, believing the drama, we're moving out into attending and listening differently, listening more deeply to the other or to the situation or to our guide or to our own inner knowing. Okay. All right. So let's pause this recording. So that is it for us this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We had a beautiful circle live online, but you are also part of it. And we appreciate you listening in and sharing your time and energy with this circle in a virtual way. And we're happy also to share the energy of this circle with you. So remember that all of the rebalancing, all of the reconnection, all of the clearing was also available to you and is also available to you. It is not trapped in time. So enjoy, and we will see you next time.